Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. Moments ago, Donald Trump held a press conference in the Oval Office with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. And Donald Trump, in front of the world press, talked about all the important things like his delusional claim that he invaded or broke into the Los Angeles water supply to turn on a faucet and dump it into the fires, and that he saved Los Angeles. This is what he said. Play the clip.
I broke into Los Angeles. Can you believe it? I had a break-in. I invaded Los Angeles, and we opened up the water, and the water is now flowing down. They have so much water, they don't know what to do. They were sending it out to the Pacific for environmental reasons. Okay, can you believe it? And in the meantime, they lost 25,000 houses. They lost, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. But
literally, you need a straitjacket, like actually a lunatic, like an actual lunatic. And then here in that same Oval Office press conference, again with NATO Secretary General seated right next to him, Donald Trump talked about how he really wants America to invade Canada, make Canada a state, and then the "O Canada" anthem will be the United States anthem, but Canada can keep it as the 51st state. Here, play the clip.
And to be honest with you, Canada only works as a state. It doesn't. We don't need anything they have. As a state, it would be one of the great states anyway. This would be the most incredible country visually. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it between Canada and the U.S. Just a straight artificial line. Somebody did it a long time ago, many, many decades ago, and makes no sense. It's so perfect as a great and cherished state. Keeping "O Canada," the national anthem. I love it. I think it's great. Keep it. But it'll be for the state, one of our greatest states.
I mean, again, we're actually watching a lunatic. And then there, with NATO Secretary General seated there, he then talks about taking over Greenland and annexing Greenland. Here, play the clip.
What is your vision for the potential annexation of Greenland and getting the potential?
Yeah. Well, I think it'll happen, and I'm just thinking, I didn't give it much thought before, but I'm sitting with a man that could be very instrumental. You know, Mark, we need that for international security, not just security, international. We have a lot of our favorite players, cruising around the coast.
What's the reverse of mic drop? Like Mike.
And I'm fucking speechless, to be very honest with you. And I'm going to tell you, the thing that I find the most reprehensible is when you have these foreign leaders sitting in the Oval Office and just listening to this nonsense, placating Trump's fantastical dystopian ideas. Decades ago, somebody drew it. Well, let me just hold on. With my magic Sharpie, they drew it. And it was the most beautiful drawing ever. And all of a sudden, it's wonderful. And they could keep their national anthem. And they could keep Trudeau or whoever, Carney, whoever's going to be, and we'll make him our governor. At some point in time, you're 100% correct. Somebody needs to call him out and say, okay, look, I am the head of NATO, and this is a problem. You're talking about the annexation of another country. I tell you, I was just on my Substack a few moments ago with Lev Parnas, and Lev was actually explaining something to me, something that I really hadn't thought of before. If Trump is successful in annexing Canada, taking back Panama, Greenland, the Gaza Strip, right? I think there's a fifth one that's something else that he wants to do. Imagine what happens then. Well, then you have Putin going in and, of course, taking Ukraine, and then Poland and whatever other Eastern, European bloc, whatever Baltic that he wants to try to annex as well. But let's not forget about our friends, dear old China, who, of course, immediately want Taiwan and maybe to expand further themselves. Ultimately, you will really have three overlords running the entire world. Maybe we'll have Mohammed bin Salman will take over everything in the Middle East. They're going to like break it up like the way the mob was going back into the 50s and 60s, the five families. That's really, I think, what they're looking to do here. And Elon Musk wants to be a power play into it. This is how Lev was explained, because nothing else makes any sense. And you know what? I hate to say it. I totally agree with him. I think that this annexation is all power plays within which to consolidate land, break it up amongst the five families. This is like a bad fucking book.
Well, here's the thing, though. Trump merely saying these things, annexation, and then doing fake deals with Canada as America's markets continue to tank and the economy gets destroyed, he's already given the pass, regardless of if annexation, he's gonna send men and women of military age to invade Canada. I mean, if you take it to the logical plan, that's what he wants to do. So that's why I say, though, to Cohen, that, and this is how the people of Canada treat it as they should. And this is why I say over and over again, as an American, I stand in solidarity with the Canadians over the Trump regime, 100%, full stop. And I'm going to lend my platform and microphone to Canadian leaders, because I stand for an America that stands with Canada and not with this crap. It's a very simple one for me.
As I have said to our brigaders time and time again, something that half my family live in Toronto. My father was Canadian, right? I mean, I speak to my cousins on almost like a daily basis, every other day and so on. And they're so confused, I mean, it's like, how is this happening? Why is this happening? It's not like they haven't met Trump at my family functions and so on. They have. I'm not going to go against my family, not go against the Canadian people who have done absolutely nothing, that their big crime is that their land abuts ours. I mean, it's like having your next door neighbor, wherever you may live, who could be your family. It could be your best friend. It could be people you've lived next to for 249 years. And then all of a sudden, one day you wake up and you say, yeah, I don't know, I think I want their land too. And then you go ahead and you invade their house. You take their land. Why? Because you have some idea based upon a Sharpie marking that it's the ultimate border control to have the coastline. And then you turn around and you say, we're going to put you financially upside down, when in fact, one of the things that they're learning, and very quickly, it's not the way Trump has been describing it. In fact, I don't know if you know this, Ben, but it was Lutnick who went ahead and called,
begged like a dog,
in order for Ford to meet with Trump in the Oval Office and so on. And then, of course, the spin machine comes out, Caroline Leavitt and the rest, and the rest of the enablers. They come out and they say, hey, Trump asked us to come here because Canada wants to make a deal. I mean, you sit there and you say, how long is the American people going to sit back, listen to this nonsense, and accept it as reality?
Yeah, you're so right. So you have the Trump regime begs Canada, please come to DC and let's talk this out. Let's figure this out, because the American economy is getting absolutely crushed. So then they bring over the premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, and Ford shows up and Ford's like, look, we already have our retaliatory tariffs that were already pegged at the federal level in Canada to match the US tariffs, dollar for dollar, basically. But Ford went a step further and imposed certain energy tariffs and other things in addition to. So Ford was basically giving away nothing because it was in addition to begin with. And then what does the Trump regime do? They then dunk on Ford and they're like, look, he submitted. He gave in to us. Look, he tapped out. And then they make him look like a fool for coming to DC at their request to beg him to do that because they're a bunch of shitheads. Like I don't like Kurt, but like this Trump regime, they're weasels. They're loser weasels that if these were the people that you knew in high school or college, or these are like the worst of the worst humans who just do crap that's like, the hell, what'd you do? Like, did you just throw food in my face? Like,
Ben,
who does
we're
food in my face? Who are these people?
Right? We're sitting in a very strange place right now in not just America's history, but in the world's history. We are legitimately fighting with every ally that we have, every single one. And we are cozying up as a country to our adversaries. And here's something that I think each and every one of us can relate to. There's always different groups, whether you were in elementary school, junior high, high school, whatever. There was always a group. And for whatever reason, people always wanted to be part of somebody else's group. Well, you know what you ultimately find out when you end up in that other group for a short period of time? That the first group that you were involved with, your friends, they always had your back. They're going to be your friends forever. And that these folks, they're just temporary. They're good time Charlies. And ultimately, everybody gets burnt. Our ideals as a country, as a democratic republic, can never be in sync with that of a dictatorship or a monarchy. It just can't, because we are fundamentally different. We believe in different things. Now, you could have respect for one another, but you can't be pals. It's impossible for the United States and North Korea to be pals. It is impossible for the United States and Russia to be pals. We see things different. It's impossible for us to be in sync and in step with China. We don't have kings. We don't have rulers. We don't have supreme leaders. We don't have monarchs. And we certainly don't have a Führer. Plain and simple. All right? And the fact that there are people in this country that want that, you got to say to yourself, what are they thinking? Well, I'll tell you something. You know when they're going to change that mindset, Ben? They're going to change it legitimately when it hits them in the pocket, like with what Trump is doing with Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and so on. When mom and dad don't have enough money left over at the end of the month because they whacked out their Social Security, they can't pay for their insulin or their medication or their heat or their air conditioning or their electricity, their rent, their food. Seriously, then what's going to happen? Then they're going to be like, whoa. Hold on. What kind of bullshit is this, Donald? I fucking voted for you. All right? I fought with my family. I don't speak to them anymore because they voted for you. And now, mom and dad or this one or that one has to come live with us. We all have to pool our money together while you and this group of enablers, these mega billionaires, you're just going to go ahead and start buying up everybody's property because you're the only one with $1 in this country? I don't know. I think you're going to see a fucking revolution is what I think.
Well, I think people are seeing right now the economy tank. They're seeing the markets tank. They're seeing their pensions erase, their 401ks bye-bye. And they're being told that this is needed in order for us to detox. That's what the MAGA Republicans are saying, that they're saying we were on a sugar high. We were spoiled little brats.
Yep.
And daddies come home to teach us a lesson that we need to feel the pain because we need to suffer for the billionaires, and then they'll restructure things. It may take 5 years. Trump said it may take 100 years. China has a 100-year plan, but we need to be reduced to rubble, say goodbye to Social Security, Say goodbye to Medicaid. Say goodbye to veterans benefits. But your suffering is needed. So they have a variation of that, and then a variation of actually things would have been way worse. You're suffering, but actually we saved you from more suffering. It would have been worse under Kamala Harris. So here's MAGA Republican Senator Bernie Moreno, right? He unseated the Democrat in Ohio. And voters of Ohio, you got a piece of shit. Here he is.
What do you want to say about the tariff fight?
Look, we have to remember, step back for just 1 second. We have to remember that if Kamala Harris had won on November 5th, the stock market would be down 50%. Business climate would be a total disaster, and this country would have been on a path to ruin. What President Trump inherited was a disaster from Biden. We're going to fix it. The other countries need our economy more than we need their economy. They've been ripping us off for decades, and we want fair and reciprocal trade. And Canada and Mexico have to stop allowing fentanyl to come into this country and kill over 100,000 Americans. When they actually do what's necessary to stop that, we're going to stop. The tariff penalties will end.
So he goes, look.
Meanwhile, talking point after talking point after talking point. Each one of them has their way of getting each and every one of those talking points. Hey, Ben, I want to ask you a quick question here. Okay? Because this genius somehow manages to have the crystal ball that none of us have, but he certainly does. Assuming Kamala Harris was president of the United States right now, how come Maria Bartiromo didn't ask him, what empirical data, what proof, what document, or what information do you have that would justify making a statement that the stock market after approximately 60 days would be down 50%. Where did you come up with that number other than sticking your right hand straight up your ass and pulling it out, like a proctologist?
Well, he would have answered like this. Well, we all saw what was going on in the Biden economy as he was bankrupting the economy, as everything was crashing. That's how they would answer it.
Well, and then Maria should turn around and say, well, no, sir. In fact, when Joe Biden left, it was the stock market was at the all-time high ever. In fact, let's take it 30 days before that. It was less than the all-time high, but it was up 2%. And the month before, it was up 3%. And then on and on and on.
You remember,
and you
Cohen?
can actually kill them with legitimate facts. Something you and I, when we first decided to start this political beatdown, and I repeat this a lot, and I don't care. Some people say, oh, yeah, we've already heard that. I don't care. On Political Beatdown, on this Midas Touch network, you're only going to get facts. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm looking into my crystal ball, and here's what's going to happen in 3 months. Here's what would have happened 6 months ago. Here's what's going to happen in 3 years from now. I don't have a crystal ball. What we do is we take facts. We'll make it educated guess now and then. But at the most, what we're doing is we are laying out legitimate facts for each and every one of you so that you could make determinations on your own. But we don't do like what this idiot congressman did. We're not going to sit there and say it will be down 50%. These are the lies that the Republicans are getting away with day in and day out. And just because they say it and another asshole repeats it and then two more assholes repeat the same thing doesn't make it factually accurate. What it makes it, it makes it Stalinistic. It is from the old Stalin playbook. Repeat the lie many, many times over and over and over until the lie becomes the truth. That's their game plan, and we can't let it happen.
Look, Murdoch owns Fox and Wall Street Journal. So from April 14th, 2024, the Wall Street Journal headline, envy of the world. This was when Biden was in office. Envy of the world. U.S. economy expected to keep powering higher. Economists lift their growth forecasts in the latest Wall Street Journal survey. Right around that time, you go to the New York Times opinion section. Our economy isn't just Goldilocks, it's
This is it's so crazy. When you start to turn around and you start to see that Rupert Murdoch, a fan of Trump, all you need to do is take a look at the New York Post. All you need to do is take a look at the Wall Street Journal. He is now fighting with the Wall Street Journal again, right? Simply because they refuse to parrot his lies. They refuse to just continue to promote these talking points over and over and over again. And we, the brigaders, it's why we know not 4 million people on Midas Touch Network, not 5 million, which is where they're at. We want 10 million, right? And then 10, we're gonna be just pushing for 25 million. Ultimately, if you are a brigader and we all vote in unison, we will ultimately make the determination on who will be members of Congress or the president of the United States. That's what we need to do to build this community so big that we become unstoppable as a team, as a community. And that's something that we don't have yet.
Look, the facts are Biden handed over what's called a Goldilocks economy to Donald Trump. Just right. Inflation was heading down to 2%. Interest rates were getting cut. Biden fixed Trump regime number one, the first Trump administration's problems. Unemployment was at record lows. Job growth at record highs. 16.4 million jobs were created. 50,000 or so infrastructure projects going up across the country. We were rebuilding and then going to lead in the semiconductor industry with the CHIPS Act. America's alliances were strong. We didn't wake up feeling chaos. That's just, this is the Wall Street Journal headline. Envy of the world under former President Biden. But the narrative out there, which we were fighting against, and I wish, I'm glad this platform is growing to now where we're getting more views and more downloads than Rogan and Fox, because we need to get the message out that actually, not to suggest that everything was perfect about the economy under former President Biden, but all of the objective measures were pointing in the right direction, and we were leading the world in every category you want to lead. Now, America is last. It's not that the world economies are all imploding, it's America's. If you compare America to other world economies, America's is going down and the rest of the world's doing okay. This is a recession or even potentially a Great Depression that's going to happen caused by Donald Trump directly based on what he's doing. I want to talk about that and more. I want to take our first quick break of the show. I want to remind everybody,
stay with us.
patreon.com/political beatdown. And then Mea Culpa Blue, Michael Cohen's podcast. Check it out. And at the Michael Cohen Show YouTube channel. Stay with us. We've got a lot to discuss. We'll see you right on the other side of the break.
Throughout my life, I literally drink one type of a drink, a specific 12-year single malt scotch. And the truth is, I've never had more than 2 in a single night. And I can remember when I was around like 15 years old, I had more than 2 one night, and I woke up the next day with a massive headache. So if you're one of those people who partakes, let's just say a little more than you should, here's something that you should know. Sol's out-of-office THC beverages, they work as an alternative because first, they're low calorie. Second, they're gluten-free. And most importantly, they don't cause hangovers. Now, I just want to say thank you to Sol, who's sponsoring this podcast. And if you listen to this show, you've heard me rave about Sol's out-of-office gummies. Well, the team at Sol, they just launched their new out-of-office beverages that are perfectly microdosed with hemp-derived THC and CBD to give any situation that vacation vibe. The out-of-office beverages, they not only come in 2 mouth-watering flavors, raspberry lemonade and cucumber melon lime, they also offer 2 different doses. You can get 2.5 milligram THC and 5 milligram THC. So feel the freedom to choose with 6, 12, or 24 packs so that you could drink the THC in any way that you like. Now, out-of-office beverages, they give you that warm, that fuzzy, that euphoric microdose feeling without sending you to the moon. And you could crack one open after a hard day at work, wind down with your favorite TV show, or just merely share a 6-pack with friends at your next hangout. I mean, truly, whatever floats your boat. And here's a little fun fact. Sol was founded 5 years ago by brother and sister duo Mike and Angie. Mike is a former world-ranked professional boxer, and Angie is an author and professional speaker who had the desire to create natural alternatives to medication that tackles problems that they were dealing with themselves, like sleeplessness, anxiety, focus, and pain. And that's not all. That's not all that Sol's got. So whether you're looking for a sleep aid, enhanced focus, or pain relief, Sol has all your wellness needs covered. Plus, all of Sol's products are grown right here in the USA, organically farmed, and again, gluten-free. So if you want to feel your best, head over to getsol.com. That's GETSOUL.com and use code BEAT, B-E-A-T, for 30% off your order. That's 30% off your order using code BEAT. One last time, getsol.com and code BEAT, B-E-A-T, for 30% off.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown. Great ad read there, Michael Cohen. I showed before the break that clip of Bernie Moreno, MAGA Republican senator from Ohio, Peter Navarro, one of Donald Trump's top advisors, who previously went to prison for contempt of Congress. He's back, and he's one of the people talking about how great Trump's economic policies are. I want you to watch this exchange where he is asked about bringing the economy into a recession. And Navarro's like, we need to do that to get from Bidenomics to Trumponomics. We need the recession in order to bring us and to give us that transition. Here, play this clip.
We are, as we point out, and as pointed out by President Trump, perhaps going to have to endure a recession. We are going to deal with unpredictability, uncertainty. There will be fluctuations in the market. But there is a presumption that's part of a bigger picture, Peter. Help us understand, what is the bigger picture for the economy from the administration?
Yeah, great question. And let's start looking through one end of the telescope through today's data. As you correctly observe, the core rate of inflation has fallen to its lowest level in almost 4 years. That's huge. Gasoline prices down. We've had mortgage rates down. We've had grocery prices flat. Here's the thing. We're in this difficult transition from Bidenomics to Trumponomics.
What world are they living in? I mean, first off,
I have no idea, considering Trump ran on multiple promises, but none was more powerful. And probably the 3 words that took the Democrats apart, that took Kamala's campaign and knocked it on its ass. While she was explaining policy, he was saying gasoline and groceries. I'm going to reduce your gasoline and groceries. You're going to see it's going to happen really fast. Well, as far as I'm concerned, gasoline prices are up 15%. Go into the supermarket. Anybody that does shopping knows it's up at least 15, maybe even as high as 20%. So what is he talking about? What has come down? What has been reduced so far? The only thing that's been reduced is the workforce in this country, because he with Doge and the other bullshit going on, they're slashing jobs like it's going out of style. They want to destroy Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. They're turning around and again, they're placating our adversaries at the expense of our allies. I mean, I'm trying to think, other than the pardoning of the 1,600 defendants of January 6th, what else has he actually accomplished other than taking apart and dismantling our Constitution, dismantling the way our rule of law and government has operated, again, over the last 249 years, including the most recent nonsense that's going on with Trump's determination via an executive order that he and he alone can make a determination what an illegal protest is and have people, either if you're an American citizen, have people arrested and expelled from that institution, that school, that program, or if you are not a U.S. citizen, arrested and deported. Complete and total violation of the First Amendment.
You know, I want to talk about that in a bit as well. That according to numerous sources, Trump is gearing up to invoke a wartime Alien Enemies Act of 1789, which he said he was going to invoke during the campaign. It would allow him to make these unilateral determinations to deport even American citizens, natives, people who are here, if he deems them to be aiding an enemy nation in any way. Trump regime had to shut down their Guantanamo Bay plans because they just couldn't execute the plan the way they wanted to. So it was this big, expensive PR stunt where they ended up bringing 140 or so, 178 people who weren't even violent. They weren't the gangs. They were just like regular people, migrants who were brought there, and then they had to go move them to other places. And that was after kind of the big PR announcement. I guess while I'm talking about that, one of the pieces of data that we found out as well is that last month marked the highest federal government spending in American history. So more federal government spending than ever before. About $603 billion were spent last month. That's more than any other month during the Biden administration, by about 15 to 35 billion. So as Elon Musk and Trump are gutting Medicaid, saying that your Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, shutting down Social Security offices, which is basically going to be the equivalent of taking away your Social Security because you're not going to be able to get in touch with people. They're going to potentially shut down the call center and phone centers for these programs, getting rid of everybody basically at the VA, going to get rid of everybody at the Department of Education. The federal spending is still up. As Donald Trump does all of these PR stunts, they're spending a lot of money on oligarch dictator stuff while gutting the democracy stuff. Let me show you two here. Speaking of states picking the wrong people, Montana used to have Senator Tester, someone who stood up for Montana jobs and Montana farms and Montana's way of life. They then brought in a private equity huckster guy named Sheehy, whose whole military story was shrouded in things that seemed to be false or contradictory. Grifter kind of guy. Here he is when he was on some of these shows, and let me just show you what he was saying about the markets in a little bit. But Cohen, the spending right now is higher than was ever before, so it's all bullshit.
I mean, you can't argue again with facts. The facts are the facts. This is how much they spent. Anybody want to waste their time and go ahead and double check? Knock yourself out. Go and double check. That's what these journalists have done. They provided us with the information to pass it along. It is factual. So where is the savings? Where is the fact that Trump claimed that he was going to, on day number one, bring down prices, whether it's going to be your eggs, your milk, your bacon, and gasoline? And then they come on television. I don't know if you saw this, Ben, but Marco Rubio went on television and he started doing the same exact thing, which is talking about all of the great things that Donald Trump has accomplished so far, more so than any other president in U.S. history. And you say to yourself, is this really the guy who should be Secretary of State? Shouldn't a Secretary of State have at least a microcosm of honesty or truth or legitimacy? Or are you just going to go flying around the world simply as the Secretary of State for our great country and spew the Trump talking points? Oh, you need to do exactly what he says. Otherwise, the United States is going to be really angry at you. Donald is going to be very angry at you, and you don't want that because he can wreck your entire country. He can wreck you, on and on and on. It's like the bully in the playground trying to get everybody to capitulate, but the bully's not really the bully. It's all in his mind.
Let me show you that clip now of Senator Sheehy from Montana. Let's play it.
We all love a good stock market, but the reality is that stock market imbalance didn't necessarily benefit the smaller, mid-sized companies and average shareholders across the country. It didn't necessarily benefit Main Street that much. So I think we are going to see a correction there. But the reality is the stock market's not the economy. The economy's not the stock market. It's not uncommon for uncertainty to cause disruptions in that as they digest a new environmental, a new economic landscape that the president's.
You see the language? The stock market, which Donald Trump used to say was the economy, is not the economy. There's going to be disruptions. You're going to have to digest it. Dude, people see their pensions going away. People see the fact that they're losing their life savings right now.
And what do you think is going to happen down the road when guys like Sheehy or any of these other Republican members of the House or the Senate ultimately find that they don't have a job either? That DOJ will ultimately put forth some sort of a cost-cutting measure that says, why do we need members of Congress? Why do we need a House? Why do we need a Senate? Trump and his people could do it on their own. I mean, one of the things he said, Donald said early on, and we warned the entire country, every television program I went on, every journalist I spoke to, I said the same thing. Don't take it from me. Listen to what Trump is telling you he intends to do. He intends to rewrite the Constitution. Now, that, of course, is literal. He's talking figuratively. He's going to break down this Constitution so that he confers all power from the legislative and the judiciary to singularly the executive branch. You've all heard me say this over and over and over again. Well, guess what? It's exactly what he's doing. So ultimately, if in fact he's successful in completely taking apart our Constitution and our tripartite system of government, tell me, please, what stops him from turning around and telling all of the members of Congress, fuck out of here. Nobody needs you anymore. I'll figure it out without you. We'll pass the laws. We don't need these holdups. In fact, it makes it better for the United States if you guys aren't even out there. I won't need you in order to raise the debt ceiling. I'm not going to need you within which to put forth programs and figure out how much money is supposed to go there and yada, yada, yada. I can do it all on my own. And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be great. It's going to be so good that we're going to be winning without these people interfering in everything that I try to do. It's going to be so beautiful. It's going to be great. We are going to be winning so much, you're all going to be sick of it, right? As each of us are fighting for the scraps off Longshank's table. That's what's going to ultimately happen.
Here's the deal. Trump, in his Mar-a-Lago world, is used to sycophants and people who do whatever it is that he wants. The Republican Party, kiss the ring, kiss the feet, as Lara Trump would say. They're spineless. They literally just regurgitate and vomit the Mar-a-Lago oligarch talking points. So Trump is used to seeing people like this, like Peter Navarro, who goes on TV and says this. Let's play it.
President Trump has had the best 50 days of any president in American history, and there's no sign inside here or outside there that that's going to slow down, because we got a lot of good stuff to go, and we're just.
And I think we have this clip, Jeremy, from Trump's energy secretary, Chris Wright, who goes on Fox. And I think we have this clip. Let's play it.
Look, President Trump is a businessman. Thank God he became elected president. And what we're seeing right now is a master negotiator practicing his craft.
But you know who doesn't view him like that? Who views him like an absolute clown, like a pathetic little turd, like really just no offense to cornered rats, no offense to petulant third graders, no offense to you get the point. The rest of the world looks at it the way we look at it, and tens of millions of Americans, and especially if you see the polling lately, are not living in that MAGA echo chamber the way those people are. And in America right now, I mean, the latest Trump approval is like plummeting quicker than basically anybody at this stage in the term. And if you look at all of the issues, Trump's underwater on all of the issues and underwater by a lot when it comes to a lot of these issues. So Trump just thought that he was going to walk in and he was going to have the Navarros and the rights and all these people go, yes, Donald. Oh, Canada. What do you think Canada was going to do? Oh, Donald, you're tariffing us. Please take our anthem, oh, Canada. He thought European Union, that Marco Rubio would go, you're going to give it to me. You're going to give us this. And European Union would go, okay, whatever you want, I guess. You know, that's the spineless MAGA. And so he's getting frustrated right now. Hence why he's invoking the Alien Enemies Act. Hence why I think soon he's just going to outright stop doing what the federal court orders require him to do. You know his pathology better than anyone, Cohen. I want to talk about it when we come back from this break, because now he's in the kind of baby state. Like when he gets frustrated, he doesn't confront problems the way
it's called for Trump. It's called the tantrum stage.
The tantrum and then the avoidance, and then he runs away from it and then doesn't pay attention to things. And we're in that stage right now, or like a miracle, it's all just going to go away. Let's take our last quick break of the show. Patreon.com/Political Beatdown. Subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to Michael Cohen's podcast, Mea Culpa, where all podcasts are available. Let's take our last quick break of the show.
When your car breaks down, you take it to a mechanic with no hesitation. I mean, you need it, and it's not something most guys can fix themselves. Look, I know I can't, and men should think the exact same way about ED. But the reality is, you might be hesitant to seek help. Well, thankfully, through HIMS, you can get access to personalized ED treatment without ever stepping outside your door. HIMS is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort, get a load of that, of your own couch. HIMS provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable Hardmints and Viagra and Cialis and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. You hear that? 95% cheaper. The process, it's also 100% online, so that there's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. What you do is you just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. And if prescribed, your medication, well, it ships directly to you for free. And there's no insurance needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Now, with hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, HIMS can help you find the ED option that works best for you. So start your free online visit today at hims.com/beat. That's HIMS.com/beat for your personalized ED treatment options. Again, that's hims.com/beat. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required, and price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown.
By the way, thank you to everybody that likes my ad reads and so on. Please understand, and Ben will say it better than I. we don't have outside funding on the Midas Touch Network or Political Beatdown. And so these ads help to keep this program and others alive. So thank you if you like my ads. If you don't, I apologize, but go to HIMS anyway if you have a problem.
Let's take a look at what's going on actually throughout America. This is in Michigan's 7th congressional district. The Midas Touch Network broke this story. This was during a telephone town hall of Tom Barrett, a Republican, in this Trump plus 1.5, Trump plus 2 district, Michigan's 7th. Here, Representative Tom Barrett during this teletown hall, because they don't do the in-person ones anymore because they're too afraid to actually speak to their constituents in person. So he asks his constituents in Michigan what they think about Doge. Watch the outcome.
We'll go ahead and move on to our second poll question. And that question is, do you approve of the Department of Government Efficiency's mission to streamline the federal government and reduce spending? Again, this question is regarding Doge. Do you approve of the Department of Government Efficiency's mission to streamline the federal government and reduce spending? Press 1 for yes and press 2 for no. Again, that's 1 for yes and 2 for no. Our results are coming in, and it's at 70% for no and 30% for yes. That's 70% for no and 30% for yes for the approval of Doge's mission to streamline the federal government and reduce spending.
Yeah, you think? Let me show you this. This was from
probably not the smartest question for him to be asking, right? I mean, doesn't it go against the entire platform right now of the Republican Party? And the answer is press 1 for yes and press 2 for yes also, because it's a rhetorical question.
You know, I think the main agency that people want to see, or entity that people want to see gone, is Doge. The biggest creator of the waste and fraud seems to be Doge. That's where the problems are originating, and the amount of problems that are going to be created and are being created by Doge, the expense of that is going to lead to skyrocketing federal government spending. You saw a federal judge in the Northern District of California today, Judge Alsup, who I appeared in front of a few times back when I was a practicing lawyer in California. So I know that a no-nonsense judge on senior status there. He calls balls and strikes. When you go up to that court, he kind of towers above you. And I remember as a younger lawyer, you know, you would be told, you show up, I mean, you're supposed to show up prepared to all the courts, but he was a stickler for detail. Anyway, he ordered that for a number of the agencies that the Trump administration needs to rehire all of the probationary employees that it fired immediately and to bring them back. So not only pay them, bring them back and open up the buildings, which is just going to cause mass chaos and pandemonium as well. And again, this is what happens when you have 19 and 25-year-old kids or guys who call themselves big balls doing Elon Musk's bidding and are ripping apart and very cruelly ripping apart our government and then lying and defaming people and saying that they're being fired for performance. So people struggle to even get unemployment benefits, like just evil, vile people. This was a C-SPAN caller talking about how scared they are. Here, let me show you the C-SPAN caller from Ohio.
For Social Security and Medicare as key targets. He said there will be steep reductions. Elon Musk said Social Security was a Ponzi scheme. I'm so scared once these things are gone, you're not going to be able to help because he's also ruining the stock market. So people who had a median income won't be able to help the people who have no food to eat. So please pay attention.
All right.
It breaks my heart.
You hear the emotion in this woman's voice. You could almost feel her soul. Mm-hmm. And she's 100% correct. Ben, you and I said the exact same thing when they were fucking around with the Dobbs decision, which ultimately overturned Roe versus Wade. When you lose a right, it's not like the next day you're just going to get it back. It takes forever. It took them 50 years to get rid of Roe. How long do you think it's going to take to get it back? The fact that my daughter has less rights than her grandmother. Imagine in 2025, imagine that a newborn female has less rights than her great-grandmother. You got to say, what are we doing? And this poor woman, you could hear it in her voice. You could hear it in her soul. She's shit scared because without it, there's no money for food. There's no money for electricity, for their medication, for groceries. Who does this? This isn't America. This isn't the country that we're used to. And all for what? For this bullshit claim that Doge is going to get rid of all fraud, waste, and abuse. And the problem is that they're not wrong. We all know there's fraud. We all know there's waste. We all know there's abuse. But that's not what caused our $37 trillion deficit. Not in the slightest.
Michael Cohen seems like a layup for a two-finger salute. So who are you going to give it to, sir?
You know, listen, it's a little bit tough because obviously all of these Republican assholes that keep going on Fox News and spewing these lies, going ahead and playing off of the Trump talking points memo and so on, each and every one of them deserves the two-finger salute because all they're doing is deflecting. All they're doing is providing to you, to the American people, to the world, this misinformation, this disinformation, this malinformation. And unless that we're going to be given legitimate information, how else are we supposed to determine whether or not our leaders, those people that we elected within which to speak on our behalf, are doing the right thing for each of us? And they are not. They are not. We are sitting there and watching, as for example, what happened yesterday with this, with raising of the debt ceiling. There's not a single Republican that wants to turn around and to protect the pocketbook, that Congress is the ones who ultimately have the power over the purse. They are so knee-deep into this cult for fear that Elon Musk or Trump will end up forcing them to be primaried. They give a shit more about their job and their power than they do about our country, the Constitution, and the rule of law. And to each one of you that is behaving this way, fuck you all.
I want to show you a real leader, now the interim Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. He was asked about whether he would meet with Trump. By the way, Trump never called Carney to congratulate him about becoming the new prime minister. The stuff that you would expect allies to do. But then again, Donald Trump, in my view, Trump has declared actual war on Canada. I don't view it as I view it as a real war that Trump has declared. I want your territory. If someone were to be in front of my house right now and say, I'm coming to take your house, and then I'll rent it back to you, but I'm taking it. It belongs to me. I would say that that person is a thief and they're a robber. That's how Canada views the United States. That's why Canada is boycotting all things American. That's why they're boycotting tourism. That's why they're taking all American things off the shelves. And Canada has showed the way to the rest of the world. People in Europe now are also boycotting all things America, and I think that's going to pick up. So in addition to retaliatory tariffs that we've seen, about $60 billion worth from the European Union and Canada combined, which, by the way, Trump was whining about this morning and said, I'm going to do 200% tariffs on champagne and whiskey and other things now because of what's going on in Europe. I'm going to tariff you 200%. Like all of, because you know, Cohen, there's a lot of champagne being made in the United States, right? Trump doesn't even
No, there is that Trump winery.
the Trump wine, but also I think Trump's wine, maybe Trump doesn't know where champagne is made. But in any event, let me show you Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada. Here's what he was in a factory of the areas affected by Trump's aluminum and steel tariffs. Carney made it clear during the speech that any of the monies that they got from their tariffs would go directly to the aluminum and steel workers impacted by Trump's tariffs. And here's what he had to say about meeting Donald Trump. Let's play it.
We are ready to sit down with the Americans, with the U.S. government. I'm ready to sit down with President Trump at the appropriate time under a position where there's respect for Canadian sovereignty, and we're working for a common approach, a much more comprehensive approach for trade.
I think that's the perfect way to address it, right? I will sit down once there's respect for Canada's sovereignty and a mutual approach. But he goes, I'm not sitting next to him in one of these Oval Office press conferences. I'm not going to sit there when he talks about conquering Canada, annexing Greenland, whining about being ripped off by Canada. He wants to act like a grown-up, right? That's kind of the bare minimum. Maybe I'll go and visit, but until then, I'm not going there. And that goes back to what you were saying at the beginning of this show. You know, lots of people call that NATO Secretary General, former Prime Minister of the Netherlands, by the way, Mark Rutte. They call him a Trump whisperer because he knows how to like deal with Trump. But part of that, Cohen, is sitting there and then like allowing Trump to behave that way. And then in the back room, like acting differently than embarrassing Trump publicly. But to your point, Cohen, I don't know if that's an effective strategy.
I don't know. I think every single leader that comes into the White House now should come in pajamas with like a little porta potty. You know, that's just what they want to do. Yeah, what do you think? You're going to treat me like a baby? No problem. I'll just take a shit right in front of you. I mean, it's so stupid. We are living in like this crazy South Park dystopian world right now where if you're not sitting there smiling like Bibi Netanyahu did, or this idiot from NATO today, sitting there smiling as he's denigrating your life's work. He's denigrating your country. He's denigrating you. And you sit there, you smile. Why? Because you have to placate Trump? Because you think that by stroking his ass that he's going to end up doing something right? The answer is no, he's not. No, he doesn't care what you think. He's there to make fun of you and to denigrate you because it makes him feel good about himself. That's all that it is. Kiss my ass is all that he wants you to do. And I'm still going to fuck you no matter what you think and no matter what you say. Plain and simple.
Yeah, it's a humiliation ritual. And, you know, it's interesting. It's one by one a humiliation ritual. And by the way, Trump's it's everyone's getting humiliated in there, right? Like it's not, you know, it's humiliating for us to see Trump's behavior. And when sometimes you let him just talk like that, and you saw the things that he was saying, like, I mean, like literally psychotic when you watch it. The word salad, you know, maybe you could help me, a NATO Secretary General. Maybe you could help me take over Greenland. You think you'll be very helpful? Yeah. You know, Canada, the 51st state. Oh, Canada. I say, oh, Canada will be our anthem. It'll be our anthem. Oh, Canada. And, you know, we're one of the only networks out there who are like, that's crazy. And then people who watch our network go, thank you. Thank you. I don't need to see on some corporate media a talking head telling me that it's normal. It ain't normal. Just say it's crazy because it's crazy. It's dangerous. It's anti-American. And we should all be against that. Not because it's Trump, but because what he's doing is crazy. If he behaved like an adult, I wouldn't do videos. I wouldn't be able to do the videos saying, look at what he said. But he doesn't behave like an adult. And we're going to cover him, the spineless MAGAs, all of them. As long as they continue to behave like this, they're going to be shamed. They're in this chapter of American history. The side to be on is where America should always be. You should be with workers. You should be with democracy. You should be with our allies. You should be with equality. You should be with America and not this crap. We'll keep calling it out on Political Beatdown and the Midas Touch Network. Hit subscribe. Turn your notifications on YouTube. If you just subscribe but don't have notifications on, you may not know when the new video drops. It's free to do both. So do that. Patreon.com/Political Beatdown. Michael Cohen and I will announce when our next Zoom live will be. We'd love for you to join us. There's nothing more we enjoy than doing those Zoom meetings with you, but take advantage of them. That's why it's there. Patreon.com/Political Beatdown. Make sure you subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. And also there's the Mea Culpa Blue podcast. Just search Mea Culpa, hit subscribe, and you will enjoy the Mea Culpa podcast. Cohen does some great interviews there. It's right here on the Midas Touch Network. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time on Political Beatdown. A reminder, The Brother Show goes live 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific this evening. See you then. Shout out Brigaders. Shout out Midas Mighty.